Welcome back. This is video number 4 in my How I Make a Junk Journal video series. This video we're going to be choosing our papers and how many signatures we're going to be making to put in our junk journal. And I went ahead and just tied mine closed after the last video so it would stay closed and kind of keep the shape and dry real good in the shape that I want it to. We're going to be making, and this is my formula for a signature for my my journals, and I'm going to be making 3 of them to stitch into this journal because I want a lot of writing room. So let's go over my 10-page formula. So we're actually going to end up with more like 12 items in our signature, but the 10 pages are what we're going to work on, and then we're going to cover them with a decorative sheet and then hide the ties after you put them into after you sew them into the journal. We're going to hide them using some type of envelope method, and we'll go over that too. So what I'm going to work on is page 1 through 10 and show you what I mean by these lined sheets and fun sheets. So there's diary sheets, there's dated sheets, or there's plain sheets. You can download my freebie, and that has examples that you can print out of the lined sheets and the dated sheets and the diary sheets. So this would be an example of the line sheets. There's just lines on both sides. The dated sheets look like this. So there's date entries, and on one side there's the date entries, other side just lines. So you can do either or. I also have some that are dated on both sides, like this one. Or you can do a diary one, which I don't think I have an example of that. But it's just basically a 5, there's 5 dates listed here, and that makes 5 entries. So it's a shorter version of a journal, and it just records one day's events. Now you can easily make those on your computer and print them out yourselves, or you can go and download my freebie, and they're there for you. So I'll let you decide on that. I'm just going to use these line sheets with just lines on both pages. So I'm going to make 3 signatures. So I need 3 sets of these 10 pages. So if you look, I grayed out the pages I'm going to need for just the lined pages. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 per signature, which means if I'm going to do 3 signatures, I need 7 times 3, or 21 sheets of lined pages. If you only do 2 signatures, you're going to need 7 times 2, or 14 line pages. Okay, so I'll let you collect those pages. I've already folded mine, but I highly suggest taking the time to line these up nicely and folding each sheet one at a time, and then using a bone folder or something like this to fold each sheet. And I like to do this because it means that my pages are perfectly lined up. So when I go to nest them together, it will look more uniform and it'll be easier to cut and trim this edge off right here. I find it easier anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna go and I will do 7 pages real quickly. So 1, 2, 3, and I pre-did this, so I've actually done this already. I'm just redoing it. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so there's my 7 pages I need for my first signature. So I'm going to do all those, set them aside. Okay, now you'll see in between these pages there's something called, I call it fun sheets. So pages that I would put pockets on, or belly bands, or I would decorate anything that other than a lined sheet. So I call them fun sheets. So we need 1, 2, 3 per signature. So that means for my 3 signatures, I'm going to need 9 fun sheets. If I'm only doing 2 signatures, I'll need 6 fun sheets. So since my my theme of my book, my journal is cats, I have so many options. Here's some of the options that you could do. This is a score pad for a game. This is a music like a school where you learn how to write music, a graph page. These would all be fun sheets. A coloring book, a graph page. But I think for mine, because I'm having a themed page, I'm going to use something out of this book. And I've never done it out of something like this before. But since I'm having a cat theme, I really want to take an entire sheet and have it reminiscent of cats. So I'm gonna find 3 pages in here that I want to use and use those as my fun sheets. Well, actually, I'm gonna need 9 pages. So I'll come back to that. So then we're gonna need a cover. And I've decided that I'm going to use this pre-printed paper that I bought at some craft store. I did the same with it. I scored it, and that's gonna be my cover. Okay, so set that aside. Now for the inside, I'm going to need I always use an envelope. Let me show you one that I've already done. Okay, so there's many ways to do it. This one, I glued together 2 envelopes. Cut this off and used it to hide my tassels from sewing it in. I probably did that on every single signature in this book. Let me see. Yes. Okay, so let me show you another example. And this one is just an envelope. And this is an envelope I made by hand, and you can see there's the tassels hidden inside there with a little embellishment. So this one is an example of, I just folded over a piece of paper and glued the edges and folded it over. I got a great note from my husband. And kind of made my own envelope. So there's that way. And that's what I mean by handmade, unglued. So you could take an existing envelope you have, even if it's something like this, and just unglue the edges and then use it and re-glue it. Okay, it would look something like this. This is a 10 by 10 sheet of paper that I cut out of a 12 by 12, and I used my envelope maker to make an envelope for a 5 by 7 inch card. So, which is what I typically do nowadays, that I have my envelope maker, because it's so super easy. And the reason why I bought this is because I needed an easy way to make envelopes for my signatures on the inside of them. And I use this size because once it is folded and glued, you can see it pretty much covers the almost entire length of my signature. So when I'm doing my holes, which it would be like here, here, and down here, I'm less likely to run out of room or for the envelope to slide back and forth and miss one of those places where the thread is going to go to tie it in. I'm less likely if I have a longer envelope. So that's why I like this size. Yeah, so that's what I do nowadays. And this is a 10 by 10 sheet piece of paper. So that's what I'm going to do for my inside signatures in my themed journal. And I'm going to use my envelope maker, and I'm going to use this paper. So I'll have two. This will probably be in my first signature, and then this one in my second signature, and this one in my third signature. So I'm going to cut those to 10 by 10, make my envelopes, and I'll be back. Okay, I am back with my envelopes here. They're cut, and I'm going to be using one of these. So I'll set these aside. And this I'm going to fold. On all sides. And I show you how to use that envelope maker, that envelope board from We Are Memory Makers. In another video. So search my YouTube channel and you can find that. What I always do with my envelopes is I fold them opposite of how I'm going to use them. And just kind of make sure it's all squared off. And then I cut this little tab off. So I'm going to make some marks there. And cut this off. And that way, when I fold it up and glue it, it'll be a perfect little envelope. So there. Okay, so that, I have my cover. I have my inside. And I have my 7 lined pages. Okay, so right now we're just going to nest them all together. And now I'm going to cut out my three fun pages. I'll be right back. Okay, I am back, and I have cut out my 3 pages to be 8.5 by 11. So I've chosen these 3 because I love fine art, and these are, well, I showed you the book. By Susan Herbert. She does impressionists or reproductions of famous paintings, but replaces them with cats. So as a cat lover, I'm like, oh heck yeah, that's awesome. So here the last thing I have to do is fold them. So I'm going to do this gently because this paper is thicker, and it's gonna crack a little bit, which in my opinion is perfectly okay. I don't mind it at all. You don't have to use thicker paper for these fun pages. They could be regular thickness. The only thing I would suggest is not to use cardstock for your cover. You can. I'm not saying you can't. It just adds bulk to your signatures. So and sometimes you just don't need that bulk. Okay. Also, I wanted to mention that if you're like me, you have been watching lots of different people make journals, or have seen them at craft shows, and have seen things like, I don't know, like this, like scrap paper that you can fold and insert into your signatures as well. And it's totally fine if you want to do it that way. I just find it difficult for me to do my journals that way because I'm worried I'm going to not stitch it in properly, and I just don't like doing it that way. I might do that in the future at some point, but for a simple journal that you can use and add to, I like to do it this way. So, but feel free to do it however you want. So here's my 3 fun pages for my first signature. So I'm going to take my cover page, and I'm going to have my paw prints all pointing that way. So this is my cover. And then if you look at my formula, you'll see you have the cover, and page 1 is a lined page. So we're going to unfold that and nest it right into that page. Page 2 is a lined page, so we're going to do the same for that. And page 3 is one of these fun pages, so I'm going to choose this one and stick that right in there. Then I'm going to do 2 more lined pages, another fun page, 2 more lined pages, another fun page, and then my last page 10 is going to be a lined page, and then this is going to be on the very inside. Okay, so I'm not going to put that in quite yet, but every page has been folded nicely. So I'm going to hold it up like this. And I used to work for a printing company, and there's a printing term, and it's called creep. And it's when you nest pages together. There's that teeny tiny little increment right here that your pages start creeping away from this edge. That's why it's called creep. So you can see we have a lot of creep going on this edge, and this is why I trim this edge, is because if you can see that is a lot of creep. And it's because I have the thicker pages in there for my fun sheets. But look at that, it's almost, well, it's exactly 3/16 of an inch. That's a lot of creep. Almost 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to do each signature that I'm using exactly the same as I'm doing right now. And I'm going to trim off this edge. Now you'll want to trim this edge before you do anything more with your signature. And I just take a ruler and my Exacto, and you just try to get through it. That's pretty much all you can do. I haven't had any luck with any other type of paper cutter because it becomes too thick. It's hard to control the pages. So I just go slow and steady with a nice sharp blade, and I just keep at it, and eventually you'll get rid of all those extra pieces you don't need on the edge. Is it going to be straight? Let's hope. Have I done it straight right now? I don't think so. Probably a little janky, but I really don't mind it. When it's in the journal, you don't really notice. So let's see what I've done here. Yeah. Like, it's not perfect, but it's gonna be fine. Okay? Okay, so at this point, if you want to ink your pages, now's the time to do it. So go ahead if you want to ink your pages. You don't necessarily have to. You can ink every single one. You can kind of ink a little bit like I'm doing. But you'll want to do that to whatever pages you want to do. And then at this point, if you want to use any stamps, let's say, I pulled this one out because it's a cat lady stamp. If I wanted, it's gonna be really faint. If I wanted to stamp it, I have a nice flat surface and I can stamp and have a nice complete stamp, you know, rather than it being on a bumpy surface. So I'm going to go ahead and do that too. Let's do one there. And there's no formula to this. This is just all willy-nilly. I think I have another stamp I might pull out. The reason I do this is so I have a nice flat surface. It isn't necessarily for anything other than that. I have this big paw print. I don't know if I want to use this one though. I don't think I will, but you get the idea. Ink the edges as you want, and when you're done, then we're going to put everything together. Okay, so this is my first signature. I'll probably ink this envelope too. Not really heavy, just to give it enough of a, you know, a little age to it. And at this point, I don't go real crazy with inking or anything because sometimes you just cover it up anyway when you're putting the final touches on it. So I'm just kind of doing as I want to do, going like I want to go. If I'm done, I'm done. If it looks great, it looks great. That's the best part, I think, about doing a junk journal and not selling it, just using it for your own purposes, because there really is no wrong way to do it. And you don't have to please anybody but yourself. So you can just get into that creative state. And once you're in that creative state, you're not going to make any mess, or you're not going to make any mistakes, because nothing is a mistake when you're in that creative flow. It's proven somewhere. Anyway, so that's my first signature. And I'm going to make 2 more.